Hello. Welcome to the first lecture of the architectural course. At the end of the lectures, you will be able to independently create a complete set of design documentation. During the workshops, we will learn how to create lists, facades, sections, and other detailed drawings, and then place them on plan sheets. Before we begin our work, let's get familiar with the program's user interface. Here, you can see the workspace, consisting of various windows. Currently, we have the floor plan and the 3D view displayed, but when we create sections, facades, and print layouts, we will be able to view them here as well. You can manage these windows in the Project Navigator. It allows us to switch between different levels and access views, sections, facades, and plan sheets. Switching between windows is straightforward using the View tabs. If you switch to View 1, the program activates the 3D view, displaying it larger on the left side. Switching back to the floor plan will make it the active window. At the top, you'll find the ribbon bar, containing various commands and subcommands. We'll learn when and how to use them during the lectures. On the left side, you'll find the properties. In both the 2D and 3D views, you can set general properties here when nothing else is selected. However, if you choose an element, you can modify its properties here. Similarly, you'll find the Design Center here, which also appears on the left side. Here, you can search for various groups, objects, and materials. The program includes a classic file menu, where you can open, import, and export different projects, as well as save various file types for your projects. Remember, it's essential to save your work regularly. It's advisable to save a version of the file every day, so that if anything happens, or the client wants to review a previous day's version, we can easily retrieve it from our computer. If we accidentally close any of the windows, there's no need to worry, because we can always restore the default settings. As an example, I closed the 3 windows on the left side, and I can bring them back in 2 ways. First, by selecting the View menu, User Interface, Reset Interface to Factory Default command. The second way is to right-click on the ribbon menu in an empty area, where no command is present. Then, I choose the toolbar's Reset Interface to Factory Default command. The program instantly restored the windows I closed earlier. Now, let's see how to navigate between 2D and 3D views in the program. We can zoom in and out using the mouse scroll wheel. If we have zoomed too far out or too far into our floor plan, double-clicking the scroll wheel will reset the optimal zoom level. To move around the floor plan, we can press and hold the scroll wheel, making navigation easy. In the bottom right corner, we can access the same commands in the navbar. Using the hand icon achieves the same effect as holding down the scroll wheel. And we can zoom in and out using the slider. The optimal zoom level is indicated at the bottom of the slider. Now, let's activate the 3D view and see how to navigate within it. Zooming in and out works the same way as in the floor plan. To rotate the view, we can press the Shift key and hold down the mouse scroll wheel. Right-clicking allows us to orbit the model around our viewpoint. Let's open an entirely blank project and start importing the DWG. I click on the File menu, New Project. I exit the current project without saving. In the appearing window, I select the command to open a new project. I could enter the various parameters in the project properties, but I can also fill them in later, when creating the plan sheets. I accept this with OK. First, I need to import the DWG file for the floor plan, which I will link to. I choose the file, link CAD file command. This means that if anyone modifies the DWG, the program will be able to respond to those modifications. Download the projects used during the architectural course, so you can find the file on your computer that I'll be working on. ARCHLine.XP Draw, 2023, Architectural Course, and here, under the 01_plan DWG, I open the Alata_Nova_Start ground floor file. Here it is very important to set the correct scale, and the ruler will help with that. It shows how big 2000 millimeters is at the current zoom level. So if the scale is accidentally incorrect, it can be adjusted on the left side with the units. I accept this with OK. In the pop-up window, I choose Automatic Positioning using coordinates. The DWG is now imported. What's very important when importing DWG or PDF into the program is to verify its dimensions. I can do this with the Distance tool in the Quick toolbar or the Annotate, Measure, Distance command. I measure the width of the building, 6,620 millimeters, which is correct. Let's continue with the walls. When importing a DWG drawing, it's very convenient because there's a Walls on DWG Drawing command under Building, Wall menu. With this, I don't need to predefine the wall thickness, I can determine it with just 3 clicks. Before I start, I'd like to show you that on the left side, there are different saved wall styles, but we don't need them now. Let's see how I can create the walls with these 3 clicks. The first click is near the starting point of the wall. The second click is near the end point of the wall. And the third click sets the wall thickness. The program has now drawn the first wall. It's not a problem that it didn't draw the full length of the wall. We'll modify that later. What's important is that I start working on the inner walls. Let's repeat these steps until all the walls are created. Let's see it in 3D. We can see that the program didn't connect the walls. We'll modify that on the floor plan. I'll use the T and L connections for this, also found in the Quick toolbar. First, I'll use the L connection. With just 2 clicks, we can easily connect these walls. Done. Now in 3D, we can see that the walls are connected. Let's create the partition walls, as well, using the same command as before. After completing those tasks, we need to create the T connections as well. For T connections, it's essential always to specify the stem of the T first, followed by the top. This way, the program will connect them properly. Done. Now, I need to modify the length of this wall section. I click on the wall, choose the arrow, and can easily extend it. I want to change both sides of the walls to white. To do this, I need to select all the walls at once. There are several ways to do this. The first method is to right-click on the Wall command and choose the Select All command. This works the same way for any other command. The second method involves the use of the selection box. For example, if I want to select this wall and drag the selection box from left to right, it's essential to include the entire length of the wall in the selection box. If I don't select the entire length, the program won't include it in the selection. This would be the correct selection if I include the entire length. If I drag the box from right to left, even if the entire length is not within the selection box, it will still be selected if the box touches the element. There is one more selection method. For this, I'll quickly place 2 columns. I'll select the entire floor plan using the selection box, and on the left side in the Properties menu, it shows that 19 elements are selected. If I open the list, it shows that it includes 17 walls and 2 columns. If I only want to select the columns, I can choose them from the list. Now I can delete them all at once with just a few clicks. Let's select all the walls and choose the same materials option. This way, the program will set both sides of the wall to white. We can separately change the body material of the wall. Let's give it the coffee cream material. Now, We can see in 3D that the material has changed from brick to coffee cream for the wall's body. I'll redo this change. Let's go back to the floor plan. I'd like to show you how to place certain elements on different layers. I want to place the partition walls on the wall, partition wall layer. If we check, currently, all the walls are on the wall, load-bearing wall layer. But I want all the walls with a thickness of 100 and 150 mm to be moved to the wall, partition wall layer. I could select and move them using Control. But it's a bit more time-consuming if we have many partition walls. In such cases, we often use the filter, which we can find at the bottom. I select the filter command. For discipline, I choose architectural elements, then the wall element, and I'll filter them based on their total thickness. I move it with the arrow to the right list and set the program to select walls with no more than 150 mm. I accept it. And we can see that all the walls with a thickness of 100 and 150 mm are selected. On the left side in the properties, I switch them to the wall, partition wall layer. We're done with the walls, and now we can start placing the doors and windows. Before placing any element on the floor plan, it's essential to set its properties. I right-click on the command of the element I want to place, in this case, the door. I right-click and choose the property command. Here, I can set the main parameters of the door. Before making any changes, I'd like to show you how to create different variants. Let's first see what a variant means. If I click on the flush name, we can see a little folder icon in the upper right corner of the doors. If I click on the door, we find different variants saved here with size differences. Now, let's see how to save such variants. For example, let's save a door with a width of 850. I change the width to 850, then click on Create Variant, and I can save it to the library. It may take a few seconds. Done. Let's see it. I go back to the flush door folder, and there's the 850 variant I created. I won't modify the width of this door because I'll read it from the DWG floor plan using 2 points. What I set is the distance from wall line, which is 0. If I place a door in a 100 mm thick wall and specify a distance from the wall line that is more or less than 100 mm, the door will stick out from the wall surface. I also set the material. First, I choose the material for solid. It'll be a material called Fa-Paldau. I set the same for the external frame material. In this case, I don't need to search for it, because this material, which I have already used, appears in Model Materials. We're done. Now let's see how to place the door by 2 points. I select the door by 2 points command. I specify the starting point of the door, its width. And for the third click, I can determine the opening direction. Let's create the rest of the doors. We also have 2 double doors, which I'll place using the same command. And I'll put the simple door on them for now, and later, I'll modify their type in the Properties window. I place them using the method we used before. Now let's see how to modify them. I click on the door, then on the pencil icon. Here, when I click on the door's name, I select the indoor, double door category and choose this flush internal double door, which I'll use now. The program asks if I want to keep the previously set dimensions. I answer yes because it retains the parameters we drew earlier from the DWG floor plan. What we still need to do is to change its thickness from 150 to 100 mm so that it doesn't stick out from the wall's surface. I accept it, and our door is ready. Now let's look at the entrance door. Again, I click on the pencil icon to set its properties. I click on the name, select the indoor, Double door category again and choose the double door one-side fixed door. I keep the previously set dimensions here as well. I don't need to adjust the thickness anymore, but I change the distance from the wall line to 100 mm, since this door is placed within a main wall. Now we're done with the doors. What I'd like to show you next is a calculator. We use the calculator when we have selected, for example, a door, and we want to change its distance from the wall. I click on the value 700, and a small calculator appears. By pressing C, I can clear the previously entered value. And then I can type in the new value using my mouse. Now I reset it using the undo button. Besides that, next to the button, there is a redo button, which repeats the last operation. You can also disable this calculator in the settings under Units and Angles. Use a calculator to enter the dimensions option. Apart from the above, we still need to place a sliding door on the floor plan, which will also specify by 2 points. But first, I'll set its properties. I right-click on the door command, choose Property, and select the glass sliding in one door from the library. I'll also set the width based on the DWG floor plan. The thickness of this one is also 100 mm, and I'll adjust the distance from the wall line in the Properties window later. I accept it and place it using the Door by 2 points command. I specify the starting point, width, and then the opening direction. But I haven't set the distance from the wall yet. I click on the door, and on the left side, I change the distance from the wall to 100 mm. Let's see this in 3D. We're done with the doors. When I click on a specific door, the door opening symbol appears, which allows me to see how the door open. This applies not only to sliding doors but also to any opening door. I go back to the floor plan and continue with the placement of windows. However, before I place them on the floor plan, I'll set their properties. First, I select the type of window we want to place, which is the divided frame 1x equal window. I'll set the width by 2 points, as before, based on the DWG floor plan. The height remains as it is, and I'll change the thickness to 100 mm. It's crucial to set the sill height to 0 meters for now. What I also want to modify is the material of the frame and the solid. I set the solid's material to wood pall dow, and I'll choose the same material for both the interior and exterior sill. I accept it, and then I use the window by 2 points command to start drawing the windows. It's essential to always place the windows on the inside of the wall because if we place them on the outside, the handle will be on the outside. I specify the starting point, the width, and continue like this for the rest of the windows. There is also a corner window that I'll draw first and then convert it into a corner window. Let's see how it looks in 3D. I'll have to complete this on the floor plan. I use the Windows on Wall Corner, Join 2 Openings on Wall Corner command and select the 2 windows from which I want to create a corner window. The program automatically creates it, but in doing so, it aligns the 2 windows to the corner. So I need to modify their widths. I can quickly do this by clicking on the window, selecting the square marker, and then choosing Change Size. I select the window and extend its width up to this point. Since I'm still within the command, I select the other window and similarly specify its width. This completes the task. Let's see it in 3D. I still need to change the material of the mullion. First, I check which window the program associated with this element. It's associated with the right side window, so I'll set it under its properties. Under the built-in details section, we can see that the mullion is placed on the right side. I select the wood pall down material. It's done. The next element I'll create is the slab. I can do this using the building menu, slab command. I can draw it in sketch mode or by walls. I'll draw it by walls, but first, I'll set its properties. I right-click and choose Property. Here, I set the base offset from the floor to 0, and the total thickness to 300 mm, which means it will be placed 300 mm below the 0 level. I also modify the materials. I change the parquet material to a different type of parquet. If I'm not sure which exact material I want, I go back to Materials and select from the categories. Within the parquet category, I choose the strip section, and then the parquet_Ruveri_03 material. I also set the sides to be a bright white material. With these settings, it's done. Now I draw the slab by walls. I select the entire floor plan, press Enter, and the program automatically creates the slab. I go back to the floor plan. Now, I'll create the sidewalk using the slab command again. But this time, I'll draw it in sketch mode. We use this method when the space is not enclosed by walls. So, I start drawing it in sketch mode, following the edge of the wall. It's done. I also want to modify the material of this sidewalk, which I can do in Properties. I enable the Same Materials option, click on the material, and choose the Concrete 3 material. I'll draw another sidewalk detail here. I click on the already completed slab, right-click, and choose the Create Similar command. In doing so, I can draw the same floor slab with the same properties. Next, I would like to draw a ramp on this area. We can do this using the building menu, Ramp command. Various types of ramps can be created, but for now, I will make a simple straight run. To do this, I need to specify 2 points for the ramp: the starting point at the lowest elevation and the end point at the highest elevation. Now, we need to make some adjustments. To modify the width, I'll click on the ramp, and a blue edge marker will appear. By clicking on it with the left mouse button, I can use the Offset command to extend or reduce the width as needed. Currently, it aligns with the edge of the wall. We also need to adjust the heights. By clicking on the slope, I can set the heights of the bottom and top points. I choose the second option, set it to 0, and the third option to -300. This way, the program calculates the slope angle. I'll accept it by clicking OK. And now the ramp is complete. Let's take a look at it in the 3D view. Moving on, let's add layers to the walls. We'll do this on the floor plan by selecting the already drawn wall and going to its properties. I choose Edit Compound Walls, where I can add various layers to the main layer. By clicking on the plus button, I can insert a new layer. The program instantly adds it. At the bottom, we can see how the wall structure will look with layers. I'll set the insulation layer to be 100 mm thick and change its fill pattern from stonewall to thermo-isolation. I'll accept it by clicking OK. And now we can see that it's complete. I'll also modify the material by choosing the thermal isolation material and setting the function to determine how each layer should interact with the others. For the core layer, I select the core layer. And for the insulation, I'll choose the insulation air layer. This way, the program will determine how the layers should connect when we join the walls. With these settings, I'm done. If I accept it with OK, the program will add this 100mm insulation layer to the main wall. We can copy this to the other walls as well. I'll select the completed wall, click on the brush icon, and keep all the checkboxes checked. I'll accept it with OK, and then select the outer walls. I'll click on each wall where I want to place this insulation layer and accept it by pressing Enter. That's it, we're done. However, there's one thing we need to modify. Let's switch back to the 3D view and I'll show you that the program didn't cut the insulation layer. So we need to resize the cutout. To do this, I'll go back to the floor plan. I'll select the window and choose the Edit, Resize Void command from the local menu. I'll drag the opening width to the exterior side of the wall, and then I'll do the same for the other window. Now we see the same as before. The last topic I'd like to show is creating stairs. I'll go back to the floor plan, and under the building menu, we'll find the stair command with various stair shapes and types. I choose the L-form stair with landing and use that to draw this stair. I specify the first point as the starting point of the stair, the second for the length of the first arm, and the third for the length of the second arm. However, we can see that the position of the stair is not correct. I can adjust the position using the space bar. Now it's in the correct position. But this stair needs some modifications. I'll select the stair and click on the pencil icon. The first setting I want to apply is to take the floor height by the program. In this case, the stair height will change to 3000 mm because our first floor is set at 3000 mm. We can also customize the step numbers separately for the first arm and the second arm of the stair. I'll set the step number for the second arm to be 13. If we wait for a moment, we can see that the program recalculates the values. Additionally, we can determine the end of the stair. Currently, the second option is selected, where the last step of the stair is at the level of the slab's upper plane. The first option is when the slab itself is the last step. I'll choose the first option. I can also combine the additional value with a value I specify. For example, let's see how I can set the length of the second arm to be 4800 mm. Currently, it's set to 5100 mm, and the program doesn't allow me to overwrite it because it's locked. If I unlock it, I can change it to 4800 mm, and after a while, the program will update it, and we'll see the completed stair in the preview. Another setting I'm going to adjust is the width of the stair, 1200 mm. Let's take a look at the general properties. Here, I can set the representation in 2D. For example, to display it with dotted above the section line. We're done with all the settings, so I'll accept them by clicking OK. Let's see the stair in 3D. It's completed, but it didn't cut the wall underneath. I can specify this in the stair settings. I'll select the stair, either here in 3D, I click on the pencil icon, and then I choose Support, Cut the Walls. I'll select the option on Own Floor and below. To apply this change, I need to rebuild the 3D model, which I'll do by clicking on the hammer icon. We can see that the wall cutting has been applied. The last thing I want to modify is the material of the treads. I click on the stair and select the pencil icon again. At the support, I can change the tread material to the same wood pull-down material that we've been using throughout the presentation. With this, we've come to the end of the presentation. I hope it has been useful for you, and we'll see you at the next presentation. Until then, have a great day. Goodbye.